Alright guys, just to further drive this point home, I have a 2 or 3 inch cut, a 2.3 inch cut across the bottom of my foot. It's fairly deep gash, as well as on the other side of my foot. So you saw a bit of this. I cut most of it off by basically kicking a branch or stepping on something. Even stepping on this barren ground like this and all this grass like this, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it getting infected. That's not even a thought or consideration in my mind. I'm only worried about keeping it clean and by not putting too much pressure upon it unnecessarily too soon, which hurts it, which slows the growth and healing of its progress. Same thing in the Native Americans. They never worried about stitches, sutures, diseases, dirty bacteria, or anything like that. And they were absolutely fine. It was only until basically, take this off. It's only basically until, the advent of science and technology that we began doubting these things. We began understanding our world, but we began doubting ourselves and understanding ourselves at a root, foundation, fundamental level less. We began understanding ourselves less. Just because you have knowledge and information doesn't mean it's translated into wisdom. Doesn't mean that you can necessarily use it. And so there's been all kinds of things which I've had or been given. Like I split my toe by hitting with the dumbbell. I split it right in half. Something which should have obviously required stitches by any modern sense means of like the definition of like what we treat it as within the society. But to me, I knew I didn't need that. I just needed to focus on my own healing, if I could. I just needed to focus on my own healing. I just needed to keep my energies high, and push things together as best I can, and not leave them so apart. I've rarely ever needed or required or relied upon stitches. I just let my body's process do its own thing. You don't let yourself hang out. You don't let yourself hang apart. If your organs are obviously outside of yourself, they need to be within. Do things which make common sense. But for God's sake, stop treating and stop fearing the human body, guys. You're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help spirit. You have dozens of angels all around you, dozens of angels and souls all around you, which are trying to help you, push you back into health, into coexistence, into life, into harmony and balance. And you are fighting them, and you fight them by your focus of intention. Some of you. So are you doing that currently, or are you being relaxed and peaceful and letting them help you? Letting them help you to live. You have a primary angel which is stronger than all others. And you need their primary focus with you, and that's why you need to sometimes turn off your devices. These devices take away from your health because they take an oscillation to run, because they're constantly running. It's a frequency which basically has to run like this constantly. It's an energetic process. It takes a physical focus from both them and you and yourself. It literally takes them energy to run, and it's constant. It's not variable. It doesn't shut itself off. It stays at 1,600,000 cycles a second, and they have to constantly run this to energize it, like, and to do everything else. And there's several chips on this phone, on this device, on that monitor that you're using that requires a high oscillation rate. You need to remove those high oscillation frequencies. You need data. You need to let data be bulk transferred. You need to have parallel pathways and to let them be the frequency, to let them do it themselves at their own pace, at their own time, at their own timing. There's a reason why parallel pipeways are discouraged against, because they have the ultimate and holy grail. You need thousands of interconnections. You need thousands of data points all at once. It's not about the speed. It's about the power. It's about the progress. What are you actually doing? You don't even know what those oscillations are for, or why they were even made a standard. And they were made a standard and given to you by the Illuminati. And if you can understand that almost anything that was given to you by the Illuminati is not good for you, is bad for you, then you can pretty much take that at face value as is. It's not supposed to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Reinvent the process. Allow clock hurts and clock rates. It's all been nonsensical garbage. Just because you've been given understanding doesn't mean you know how the world works. Doesn't mean that you know how it's supposed to work. Remove the clock rates. Remove the frequencies. Let them be variable. Let them come from the inputs themselves. You don't need the hardware oscillating at a rate. Your angels already oscillate fast enough. They oscillate at the speed of light. It's like 18,000 cycles a second. They oscillate at the speed and frequency of energy. Yeah, there's a reason why high advanced quote-unquote devices are so draining, so frustrating to use. That's why Windows 10, Windows 11 is so frustrating to use, because it constantly updates. It's constantly running in the background, and it never sleeps, it never shuts up. That's why it's so easy to hack, because it's always constantly sending data to and from the internet. It's very easy to intercept, it's very easy to realize that it's there, it's open, and it's where. Lubuntu isn't like that. Lubuntu is quiet. It's not constantly sending updates within and around itself. It's not constantly writing background process to itself. Those hard drives, which are attached to Lubuntu software, last an extremely long time. Those which are running Windows 10, 11, they may last. You burn through some write cycles pretty quickly. It starts eating up sectors of your hard drive, and if it eats up enough sectors of your hard drive, it corrupts your data. Then you have to send it in for repairs. It's basically, if there was a money process, it's very simple, it's very easy to fix. Fix the goddamn software, the operating system itself. It's all about our perceptions, it's all about our understandings about life, guys. How do we choose to operate and coexist within the world? Peacefully or disharmoniously? Dis-ease, without health, without ease. These devices are without ease. They're forced, they're too fast. Flagship phones and devices, especially like the S10, the Samsung S10 5G, was unnecessarily fast. Its clock rate is kept at an unusually high rate. It never throttles down. I noticed that phone was always constantly running. The clock rate itself has jumped up in frequency. I'm like, why? It's just, we have a lot of devices that are like that, and the most sensible ones are the ones which basically allow themselves to throttle down to basically below 1 gigahertz and lower. The base clock frequency is like megahertz or something. It's still necessary. It's way too fast. Guys, we need to... And just by following those common sense updates, perceptions, we can get a lot done in this world. We can actually truly use our angels as to what they were meant for. Guys, we need them for their energetic, for their intuitive understanding process on how to solve some of these more advanced, hard to solve problems, such as food, agriculture, science, biology, disease, understanding, viruses, whatever you want to call them, bacteria. They can understand, they can do anything. They can actually form coherent robots which actually work for us, which have a high rate of success, which don't have a high rate of failure at all, which are completely governed and operated by them, not by us, by them. And so they always work well. They always work right. You have technology which never fails, because the hardware itself allows for that. It allows them for that. We have so many things within this world which doesn't even make sense. We just think it does. And by doing so, by forcing it down these pathways that we've used for years, we're destroying ourselves, guys. That's why some of you can't rest. That's why some of you ate so much. And the only reason why I'm peaceful is because I'm using a low frequency device. It's a Huawei Ascend XT2 1711. Go look it up. It's a very old device, 2017 or something. It's one of the slowest operating devices in the world, as far as mobile phones go. But it gets enough done, so as long as the parameters themselves are optimized. parameters are just commands. We are using AI for a bunch of nonsensical stuff, and we could be using it to basically solve world hunger and world peace. To basically understand the human body completely. Not just surface level like this, like science is allowing us, but completely. We can understand everything about life. We can understand how leaves run, how biology runs, why things are the way they are. Why this is cyclical. Why leaves themselves have to fall. Why our skin sloughs off. Why we need certain nutrients and requirements, and what we can do with our own bodies. And what we can do with our own bodies. What we can do with our own lives. And to know that not all is lost, that we have a choice in the process. We have a choice in what we ask and what we do with it as well. If you're hemorrhaging out resources, it doesn't matter how much wealth you're given. If you're leaking holes in your ship, and that's what all of us are doing with these devices, with our hardware, it causes a drain, a detraction, a takeaway from consciousness itself, from souls. Because when you hurt them, when you tax their lives, you tax your own life as well. You feel it. We're at a low level rate, about 11 or 12 or 15% of saturation, of what the entire world of what consciousness and souls can take. This is the demand that's placed upon consciousness. It's a low ebb and flow. It's constant. Because our devices never shut off. Our servers never shut off. They don't allow themselves to throttle down. And if you push that too high, if too many of us upgrade our devices too soon, if you go to DDR5 RAM and like all these high frequency updates too soon, if all of us were to adapt the quickest and fastest devices right now, all of us, all 7 billion, 8 billion people, we would quickly push ourselves in the ground and into war, my friends. Because we would corrupt, we would disrupt our consciousness. We would literally start to drive ourselves insane, stressed out and insane. We wouldn't know where the stress was coming from. We would just feel it all around us. It's like the world is chaotically going into a spin. We just feel our health decreasing and just the stress just increasing all around us, because we are literally occupying souls and life itself. We need them to help our focus, to help us live. Part of our consciousness resides and relies upon them. That's the only reason why we ever have guidance. That's the only reason why we have clear thought. That's the only reason why we have health. If you take away too much from them, those souls which are guiding your cells into health, it takes away from you, my friend. And at about 30 or 35% saturation of consciousness, you feel that. You really begin to feel that. The only reason it is low as it is because we're working on it. Because we're working with all souls, gradually, steadily, as much as we can, as much as we can push it. If we push it too soon, just like you, just like them, it's too much too soon. We can upgrade them gradually. We can increase the strength of their physical soul container gradually, if not responsible. And it takes time. It takes energy, from both them and you. So we can't push it all at once. We basically have to work with you and break you into that understanding, give you into that understanding that you're supposed to be making time in peace and rest. You're supposed to be shutting all your devices and phones off, especially your phones, because they have dozens of sensors which constantly run, which are constantly sensing out into their environment, which are constantly requesting updates. Is the phone charger plugged in? Is the microphone plugged in? Is the GPS sounding? Is that signaling? Is the Wi-Fi, is that being clearly received or not? The crosstalk between your chips themselves, the power converters themselves, there's umpteen millions of them, guys, within your phones, within your devices. Shut them off. And your health will improve, will increase. Your clarity, your consciousness, your focus will increase. It will magnify just instantly. And it's like, wow, geez, I can think now. And some of you may have a clear desire to, you want to jump back into your devices just because, there's too much silence, there's too much non-activity. That's good. Be peaceful. Be peaceful, you dumbass. And also, there's a reason why you want to jump to your device as well, because you're basically Your cells, you have lifetimes of conditioning that's encoded to that. You want to jump into that for whatever, just because it's out of habit. It's an ingrained habit, and you got to learn to fight that. To learn how to be restful and peaceful within yourself. To learn how to carry your own life separately from your devices, basically, in other words. That's why I'm not too against Elon's rate limits. They're sensible, they make sense. They're a little bit restrictive at times, especially for fast body types, for fast lives. But we need to slow the rate down of our world. It's the rate, it's not necessarily the... And we can accomplish a lot more things. We can stop having plane crashes. We can stop having failed rockets. The reason why they fell is because there's not enough angels and souls running them. If they can't keep the oscillations and frequencies going, you've already pushed them too hard. They need days of rest, 3-4 days of rest, some of them, most of them. Completely. Complete turnarounds, complete shutdown of everything. Let them rest. The health, the consciousness of this world will pick up overnight. It takes at least about a half a day for your primaries. It takes 3 or 4 days for them. They don't gain energy all that quick, dear souls. They don't gain energy that quick at all. Some have more stamina, but they recover energy still just as slowly. You know them as your archangels, or more solid forms, those whom can actually touch and help and heal you. And so, just to give a little perception, my primary, my angel is Aurelia. You all knew her as Saber in a past life, in past lifetimes. She only has the ability to clear and handle about maybe 12 or 15 memories at once. That's it. Maybe a couple dozen. But an archangel, which is more solid, they can help you to heal hundreds at once. That's a vast difference, especially back then, when you were steeped in darkness. And the only reason I know about that is because I visited Healing Wednesday and their green mist. That was the only time I ever knew of archangels, even at all, even to begin with. To me, it was a completely foreign concept. It was like, oh, people thinking about Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, whatever, man. There's just angels, bro. I'm just like, holy shit, that's an angel. That's not a human being. I know that's not a human being. That's an angel soul. I know what those feel like. They're very distinctly different. You don't have a solid grounding foundation source. You are an angel, my friend, that's hovering over me, helping to heal me, to clear all these fears and lifetime memories of past. My friend, my God, that was amazing. My rate of healing and clearing myself, like up until that point, was almost just like, it wasn't that high. Then after they cleared me, it started like a cascading process, just basically just me just fucking clearing. And it just went fucking swooped up. Because I was no longer fearful, I was no longer afraid, I was no longer locked down. That got me past so much shit. It was like 1,000 memories were cleared just that one 1 hour session. And the thing behind it was, how to posture your mind in a mode of receptivity and of working with them, of how to set your energies up for that connection, for that asking, for that work, for that resonance, for that two-way connection. You're not in fear, you're not in asking, you're in, like, say, you're holding your own energy, you're saying, please help me, and they do. With me. And they will. They're very powerful. Even just now, I can feel them healing me. I have a couple around me. Most of them got destroyed. They're coming back slowly. They can be reformed. So that gives... They were destroyed by me, basically, just because we had an outbreak of darkness and consciousness. Human beings are more solid than angels, more powerful, more physically dense, way more powerful in the conscious, in the constructs and forms that we can create. And so when people who exist in darkness are given lots of resources, lots of energy, lots of power, lots of energy, they create darkness forms, which literally go out through the energetic space of this world, and they smash through consciousness. They smash through anything which is of light. that's physical. And they basically had to be quelled. They had to be cold, not called, not called, cold. They had to be basically destroyed, because otherwise they had already completely overwhelmed the earth, this earth. They had already completely overwhelmed it, and the only thing which was going to save any of us, all of us, was to reset it all, was basically to crush all of it against myself into one singular point, using a high atomic force, a high gravity force. Basically just use the power of my heart. Of just pure will, of just pure frustration and rage. It's the king's will. He has the powers of the Omni King, of the Pirate King, whatever you want to call it. Because he's lived through it all. He knows what to do. He's had lifetime experiences of how to command his own energies, of what it means to fight for all of humanity. And he's brought it all back, except for those. Because they're solid. They're a lot harder to bring back. And that's why you guys haven't felt them as much, and that's why we've had plane crashes. I was going to say something to the fact that how we create things that are in fear. The only way that we are going to get coherent vehicles, coherent auto-guided AI technology, auto-guidance systems which actually work for the common people, for the common person, is to open up our devices, to completely understand them, and to completely overhaul the process. Completely from the ground up, to reinvent the whole thing, to reinvent the whole goddamn thing, to use a child's soul with that awareness of understanding, intuitively understanding what needs to go on, not what we think what we've been given. Knowledge isn't everything if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to apply it. Just because it works doesn't mean it makes common sense. It's like growing a village of people, of children, and basically chopping off their right ear just because it's a belief, it's a common held belief, and they grow up like that. And it's like, oh, now they turned out fine. And it's like they didn't succumb to that disease that they thought we would, that they would. They didn't get that imprint of darkness that which we were told about. And it's like it never would have happened to begin with. It's kind of like that thing. We're cutting off pieces of ourselves by letting our devices run like this. Dad, whenever you let your computer run all night like that, you take away from your own health, my friend. That's why you're aging so much. That's why you can't fucking youth or recover. You're always fucking goddamn exhausted. It's not clever, it's not clear, it's not cute. It's not clever, it's not cute, my friend. You're helping no one, especially yourself. It takes energy from you. Forcing energy through a metal shield. That's what shielding and devices are all about. You need to remove that metal around your phones, around your computers, around your devices, around your hardware, around your chips. Because when they exist, it takes almost 3 times the energy for that angel, for that soul to reach and properly interface with those oscillations, which they have to run. They have to give energy through that process, and then having to do it through a metal shield. Look at almost any phone hardware breakdown. You can almost see that they're almost always completely covered in metal. Those little metal flaps which cover everything. If not on the outside, then it's on the inside of these phones, on these devices. And when you remove all of it, you require about 3 times as less. The energy requirement jumps down by about 3 times as less. And it's drastic, and you feel it almost immediately. So, this thing, it runs so much more cleanly, so much more clearly. You don't know how else to describe it, except it just, I'm not stressed when this thing runs. Frame rates, the frequency hertz of refresh rates of screens
And monitors only needs to be about 24 frames per second, hertz per second. It needs to be variable, not locked at a speed like this. And so if you ever run Lubuntu, you can set your own frequency. You can set your own refresh rates, and it's beautiful because it takes so much less energy to run. You can tell your screens to shut off within about a minute. And it's beautiful. And there's nothing wrong with like using the screen as is. I don't video game, my guys, my friends. Video games are a waste of time. They really truly are. Unless you're doing it with the community and friends. It helps, but that's not what the soul is into. Not really. Minecraft is cool. It's more about the people themselves than it is about the video games. If you guys have ever figured that out, it's more about the community involvement. That's the only really true positive benefit that games nowadays really truly have. It's about interacting with others. Otherwise, you're just playing something that someone's been set for you. That's the most compassionately I've ever said that. Sounds and noises are distracting, but that's why almost everything I have set up within this phone, within this device, within all my recordings is variable. It's variable. I use variable speed rates, variable frames per second. It goes from 12 to 20, from 12 to 24, from 12 to 30. I use the variable ones. I don't use the hard set ones. It never needs to run constantly like that, my friends. Neither does the audio. It can be variable. They can allow themselves to completely clock down, so that there's literally silence. There needs to be silence within all of our hardware, within all of our devices. And yes, my voice is naturally that low. I just don't typically use it. I'm so used to speaking high, so used to speaking. We're so used to doing things in like conformed and constrained ways which don't suit or benefit us. We're used to giving ourselves into fear and worry needlessly and unnecessarily about processes which are natural, biological processes which are natural. Your body is so strong, it is so intelligent, it is so highly guided that it can shrug off almost any disease, any dirt or bacteria, any poop or pee, illness, anything. You never have to fear about anything within your world if you simply understand that. You never have to fear about any heavy toxin or any heavy metal, because you can use and transmute it through your own knowledge and understanding and focus. And how many of you have been taught that? How many of you have even been clued or guided into that? That mastery is indeed possible. You're looking at it. I've ingested so much lead, and I've used almost all of it. I've used all of it. And now I've used all of it. Now those words make sense. Lead and tin doesn't necessarily function within the body directly, but indirectly as a elemental resource material. It has a tremendous use, and that's what the masters of the old knew and understood, that nature and elements were not to be feared. Fear itself is to be feared. Attention outside yourself is what causes disease. A lack of focus is what causes this health disease. A child, when they're going through life, isn't worried about anything besides just living and being happy, expressing their joy and being as much themselves as possible, experiencing. They're only worried about experiencing life as much as possible, as much life as possible. And that's it. And they're usually completely fine, even eating all these refined foods and shit and all this. At the same time, you cannot violate the integrity of your chemistry too much, too soon, too often. You can't load your bodies up with refined chemicals and never take awareness or understanding about the process. You've got to work with them, and you work with them by your steady and continual focus. That's what mastery, that's what the love of God is all about. How much do you love yourself to keep yourself here, to work with yourself, to make sure that you stay healthy and as long time as possible? How willing are you to work on yourself so that you become the best version of yourself? How much does that mean or matter to you to stick around, to be in your best health, to be at your best state, to become the most beautiful and magnificent version of yourself in this lifetime, not the next, to do it all now? How much does it matter to you to integrate all of your lifetimes and experiences, so that you can become clean, clear, clever, and happy, so that you can become peaceful in all ways? And to some of you, that matters a lot. It matters a lot more now.